Hi, my name is Johnny, and I am the owner of Johnny Simmons Photography. I am one of the preferred vendors at Riviera Beach Event Center. Today, what we're doing is we're giving all of our upcoming brides a couple of little tips about what to expect and what they should try to do to help themselves for when they start planning their wedding. Um, Everybody's different and what they've experienced, and I'm just gonna give you a little bit of information that I've experienced by being a photographer and from my own personal wedding. One of my big things from my wedding that I experienced is getting to know your vendor, basically photographer. Always, always meet your vendor, meet your photographer. Okay, you want to sit down with them, you want to talk to them, you want to meet them face to face, because not all the time you guys are going to mesh together. They might be a little bit different, they might see things a little bit differently, you might not work well. So you always want to physically meet them and sit down and talk. Sometimes it comes out great. I will tell you this personally, my photographer, before I even started my business, I never met my wedding photographer until the day of the wedding, and I think I talked to her once. Not saying she was terrible, but again, she didn't know what we were looking for, so we kind of didn't mesh well. Um, and I think that can go for any vendor that you choose to have at your wedding. Definitely meet them. Meet your vendors. Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what it is. Always meet them. And it does happen to where it takes a little time to where they might call you. It takes time for them to call you back. Um, but also, you can also put other feelers out there for other vendors. Um, get a couple different ideas from friends, possibly. Look up some for yourself. Look around. Get a couple in your basket just to call. Never leave it at just one. That's one of my tips for that. Um, there's probably a lot of other things that I could tell you, but that's like one of my most important ones because it happened to me. Now, I did talk to another bride of mine, and she told me what one of her problems was. So I'm going to give you one of these tips. Always think about transportation. Make sure you have everything set for if you're getting ready at a different location from your wedding. Make sure you have transportation set up. Sometimes it can slip your mind. So you might want to make a checklist of everything to make sure you have everything set up for the day of the wedding for you and your bridesmaids. Um, because it can happen to where it slips your mind. So make sure you try to have a checklist of everything that's supposed to happen that day of the wedding, to make sure everything's set and ready to go. And that way you could check it a couple days before the wedding to make sure you got everything set. How are we going to get to the venue from the hotel? I don't know. So if you have a checklist, you can definitely look back on that. Whoever you put in control of that, your bridesmaid or your mother or the wedding planner, um, they could definitely do that for you. Just make sure someone is in control of that because you don't want to be stranded at the hotel without a ride, and then you might have to call an Uber, which is what happened to one of my brides. But it happens. And it still ended up being a great wedding. So, it was something funny that she has to remember, and all her bridesmaids were like, how are we going to get to the wedding? But they had a great time, and they made it, and it was a perfect wedding. Um, so, beat your vendors, have a checklist. Another one I would say is to have a person, let it be bride or groom, which is your best man or your maid of honor. And if it's not them, have a backup person. I will always say have a backup person to watch the other person. Because sometimes that person might forget something. Sometimes they might oversee something and not remember or not notice because it's a lot on their plate. So always have a backup person just to say, hey, did you double check this? Did you double check that? Because it is a lot. It's a lot for that person to have to deal with to try to help you out so you don't stress as the bride. or as the groom or as the parent, so you guys don't stress. You guys can enjoy that special day. Always got to have a backup. Have a backup for your backup, because you just don't know. Like if you got a list that you want your groom, or I mean your best man or your maid of honor to take care of, have a backup list just in case for another person. Say, hey, listen, my maid of honor is taking care of this. This is the list I gave her. So if you want to double check later on, you can double check, make sure everything was taken care of. Have them work as a team. You got to have that backup. It's a must. But pretty much right now, I would say those are my 3 top tips I can give you guys for planning your upcoming wedding. If you have any questions for me, Johnny, my phone number is 561-201-0225. My website is jdsimmonsphotog.com. That is jdsimmonsphotog.com. You can check out my website there, or you can give me a call. Thank you for allowing me to take this time out and give you some of my tips and my experiences. And so hopefully they can help you with your planning. And thank you to Riviera Beach Event Center, CRA, for allowing me to be a part of this. I look forward to meeting you soon. Have a wonderful day.